With the former president blatantly defying the constitutional court, a lack of accountability and rampant criminality in our political sphere, how do we keep the faith in the system and also safeguard our constitutional democracy? In his article in the Daily Maverick, Paul Huffman from Accountability Now says it's not too late for South Africa to redeem itself. He joins me now via Skype. Thank you very much, Advocate Huffman, for your time. Why do you think constitutional democracy is under threat in so many places all over the world at this point in time? And in that article, you mentioned the storming of the US Capitol, Myanmar, Poland, Hungary, jihadism, even a spat between post-Brexit UK and the EU over vaccine access. Has there been a universal catalyst?
Well, I think that the rise of nationalism, and I'm talking about the toxic form of nationalism rather than the healthy patriotic system that took us through 2 world wars in a previous century. That toxic nationalism is at the root of it. There's a feeling among many people who are under the influence of populists that the system is not working for them and that they should destroy it. And I'm afraid that problem is exacerbated in South Africa because although the Constitution is our supreme law, and although we are subscribed to the idea that the rule of law has to be respected and upheld, and that the findings of courts are binding on those to whom they are directed, we also find within the ANC a great deal of ambivalence about these factors, the rule of law and the supremacy of the Constitution. So, for example, today at the Zondo Commission, it came out through the lips of Nkosi Koza that Gwedi Mantashe, who was then the Secretary General of the ANC, said to his caucus in Parliament, never mind that the Constitutional Court has ruled that you are entitled to vote your conscience in a secret ballot. I am instructing you as the leader of the ANC that you will vote against the impeachment motion in respect of Jacob Zuma's presidency. And she got fired for refusing to take that instruction, which was an instruction directly opposed to what the court had said. And the attitude that Jacob Zuma is taking at the moment in relation to the findings of the court in a matter which he didn't even bother to oppose it demonstrates exactly the same ambivalence of the ANC towards the supremacy of the Constitution, the rule of law, and the binding nature of court decisions.
Advocate Huffman, your piece, your opinion piece in the Daily Maverick suggests that ambivalence is not coincidental, but that the ideals and intentions expressed by the governing ANC are at their heart in discord with the nature of constitutional democracy. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a very good summary of my comparison of constitutional values and the values of the National Democratic Revolution. The Constitution, as we all know, is our supreme law. It says that the rule of law must be upheld and applied in South Africa. It likes the idea of separation of powers, checks and balances on the exercise of power, and that our governance should be open, accountable, and responsive. The ANC has a strategy and tactics which is aimed at rolling out what it calls the National Democratic Revolution, from which will emerge the National Democratic Society. And the idea behind that does not fit in well with our constitutional principles. The basic premise of the National Democratic Revolution is that the ANC should obtain comprehensive control of all the levers of power in society, not just in government, but in society. So you see things like the national health coming along, you see calls for expropriation without compensation, which is contrary to what the Constitution generally means, and you find even 18 million people living in rural areas having their rights taken away from them in a way that is deeply, darkly unconstitutional in a country in which everybody is meant to be equal before the law. And this is because the ANC programs and policies, practices, and even some of their laws are not in accordance or not consistent with the Constitution.
Advocate Hoffman, in the point of your piece, you say it's not too late to redeem ourselves. How do we do that?
Well, I think that it's very important that the culture of impunity, which is abroad in the land and really stems from unlawful, unconstitutional practices like those of Gwedi Montashi and now Ace Magashule, who says that the Constitution is not sacrosanct, which is said in defense of Jacob Zuma rather than because there's any basis for saying it. I'm suggesting that the reason why the lack of respect for the Constitution, the lack of respect for the rule of law is where it is because our criminal justice system was broken by Jacob Zuma and his patronage networks. And what we need to do is end the culture of impunity that has brought about. And the way that you do that is to introduce a new Chapter 9 institution which will slot in neatly between the Auditor General and the Public Protector, and its job will be, once it's established, will be to investigate, essentially to investigate and to prosecute grand corruption, kleptocracy, and state capture. Because if we don't create a new institution to do it, the existing institutions, because they are riddled with Zuma deployees, will not be up to the task. If we can end the culture of corruption with impunity, then we are on the track to restoring constitutional democracy, to the
Advocate Hoffman, I am so sorry to interrupt you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. It's a conversation we're definitely going to have to continue at another time. Thank you very much, Advocate Paul Hoffman from Accountability Now. Still ahead in